What's going on, everyone? So yesterday the Lakers suffered a really bad loss, losing 133 to 110. This was obviously off of a back-to-back, and I will say the Lakers did finish 2-2, which is what I wanted them to finish as. Obviously, I really wanted a 3-1 and then, of course, a 4-0 on this road trip. But my thinking was the only team that should be about as close to a lock. Nothing's ever a lock, especially with this Lakers team. But I figured Detroit should give you the one win, and then you just got to beat one of the Cavs, the Sixers, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. But the Lakers have been a very bad road team. So I had my reservations, I had my concerns, and the Lakers in two of their last three games have gotten completely blown out, right? They got destroyed by the Sixers and now the Oklahoma City Thunder. And it's just like, I understand we're shorthanded. I understand that this game was a back-to-back, but you see a lot of just the bad habits that this Laker team is putting forth, and it's just not good, right? If these were closer games, right, and it was kind of like this back and forth and whatnot, and it was like, oh man, you know what? If we had Jared Vanderbilt, right, maybe that would have been the difference. But most of the losses the Lakers had or have had, right, I don't think any of the guys we're missing are the difference, because most of the losses, like 6 or 7 of our 9 losses, have all came in like dominant blowout fashion, right? So you add that in the mix, like how much more could that be? Now, obviously, maybe if everyone's healthy and guys are clicking, maybe the chemistry is better. I think defensively we'd definitely be better, right? Like the Lakers are currently top 10. They're hovering around that like 10, 11. They're probably back to the 11th or maybe even 12th now with the Oklahoma City loss. But they were in that like 10, 11 range. And, you add in a Jared Vanderbilt, you add in a Gabe Vincent. Those are two guys that, are supposed to be our better defensive guys. Jared Vanderbilt is arguably the best on-ball defender, perimeter defender in the entire league. And then also Cam Reddish, right, being out. Right? It's like you start getting everybody together. It's like the Lakers would be a very good defensive team. But this Lakers team just doesn't currently seem to have an identity. And I hope that when everybody comes back, like they kind of figure it out. They get their identity together. They figure out how to play better basketball. And then we end up kind of righting the ship here a little bit. And look, I'll take the 11-9 record compared to like what we had last year. So that's definitely a positive note too. But it's just like, we keep hearing the same excuse, right? And even LeBron said, he says, I have no idea what we are. How? We don't have our group yet. I know what some of us individually are, but not as a team yet. And look, I understand, again, the injuries. We've had guys in and out of the lineup. It's hard to build continuity in that route. And I do get that to an extent, right? Like the fact that we are 11-9, given all the circumstances, are definitely a positive, right? That we have an 11-9 record. But again, like a lot of the issues are not lack of bodies, but lack of effort, lack of discipline, lack of just execution down the stretch, lack of hitting shots, right? Like Jared Vanderbilt coming back, Gabe Vincent coming back, who was like 1 of 14 or 1 of 15 shooting the 3-ball. Like getting all these guys back would be great, but it doesn't fix the energy from the guys that have came. Like I definitely think energy is contagious, right? And I do think that Jared Vanderbilt in particular will definitely have a major impact for the Lakers, but he's not the cure-all, right? Like I think he'll impact both sides of the basketball. Jared Vanderbilt, I do believe, will make us at worst a top 5 defensive team. Lakers were middle of the pack last year, end up being number 1 with just Jared Vanderbilt. Lakers are, as I mentioned, we're top 10, top 11 in defense. Jared Vanderbilt alone should make them top 5. And then you add in Gabe Vincent, you add in Cam Reddish, hopefully being healthy and consistently in the lineup. All of a sudden, you could see the growth, right? Having Jared Vanderbilt, having Cam Reddish in the starting lineup is something that I've really been preaching, because we need that energy to start games and to continue to push. And there's no question about Jared Vanderbilt and his energy. There's no question about Cam Reddish and his energy. But that means we need D'Lo, who he had a solid, he didn't have a great game, but he didn't have a bad game. He was solid in this game. right? He was excellent in the previous game, but if we need D'Lo to be consistent scoring the basketball if we have a Jared Vanderbilt and a Cam Reddish. But I also think that those two guys, your identity would be defensively, right? You lock in defensively, you lock down, you focus, you buckle down, and you become the best defensive team in the league, right? And early on, when the Lakers are slow and they don't seem to have it going early on, and it's like as the game progresses, they seem to get better. My hope is that with Jared Vanderbilt and Cam Reddish, we can be good enough defensively to not be getting blown out, to where at least we're in the games, to where as the game progresses, all of a sudden the Lakers are, within striking range going into the fourth, and then we can rattle off some wins here. Maybe even have a lead. And then the Lakers have been one of, if not the best fourth quarter teams in the entire league. That's what I kind of am hoping for. Also, Jared Vanderbilt will help tremendously on the offensive side. Now, I know a lot of people don't think he will, and we don't know how he's going to shoot the basketball. We only have a one-game preseason sample size, but he was 2 of 3 from 3, which is good. But what I mean by him impacting on the offensive side is rebounding the basketball, right? Average 7 rebounds a game. Talking about a guy that's going to get offensive rebounds, which will lead to second chance points, which will raise our point total. Defensive rebounds, which would limit the opposing team's offensive rebounds, because we're one of the worst teams in the league in that department. And so then, now we secure the defensive board, we're heading the other way, which leads to more opportunities, which leads to, again, more offensive production. And then, defense, right? Getting steals, getting deflections, creating turnovers, all lead to transition points and more opportunity for the Lakers on the offensive side of the basketball. So Jared Vanderbilt definitely will help the Lakers on the offensive side as well. And as I mentioned, I get that the Lakers have these issues with just the lack of health, right? And I understand that the Lakers have this issue with, building chemistry and kind of building the foundations that they need to really kind of move into that next tier of teams. But to me, there's also no excuse for guys just not showing up and the lack of consistency from these professional players, right? Like Reeves completely disappears at times, and he was supposed to be our most consistent guy, right? D'Lo has been better, right? But he's had moments in games where he just completely disappears at times. It's just like, can we start putting this together to a point where we can move to that next step, right? To where, even if we're not an elite team right away, at least move to like a great team, to where now we can beat the middle of the pack teams, to where we are competing against, and winning games on a consistent basis. Start rattling off multiple win streaks, right? Like the Lakers have had 2-3 game win streaks, which is great, but it's like, can we be those teams, one of those teams that wins 5, 6, 7 games in a row? I mean, when was the last time the Lakers did that, right? I mean, even teams like Houston and stuff have done that. Can the Lakers do that? I understand teams are going to bring their A game against the Lakers every night. And, you look at this roster, and I still believe that this is the deepest roster in the league. They're not playing like it. Guys are really struggling, right? We haven't found that identity. We haven't found that balance yet, but I still believe we can. And I do believe that if we get there, we could be hoisting Larry O'Brien at the end of the year. I still think we need some trades, even if we do right the ship. Like, let's say we turn it around and we're, a top 3 seed in the West, and it's like, we're heading in a great direction. Still think that there's going to be holes in this team that need to be addressed that we have seen over this 20 game stretch. We're 20 games in. We have a pretty good idea of what the Lakers are, right? And I want to see the next 20 games moving in a positive direction, right? I want to see the next 20 games, instead of us going 11-9, us going 15-5, right? Like, that would be great. So, I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. Obviously, we got the in-season tournament against the Phoenix Suns. That's going to be tough, but I believe in this team. I do. It's frustrating. I'm frustrated. I'm sure you're frustrated, disappointed, right? We all are. But I believe in this team. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts on this Lakers team? Do you think that they could turn it around once everyone's healthy? Do you think no? What did you think of them going 2-2? Again, I have a feel what your thoughts are. Let me know down in